The security guard was still holding the turnstile when the glass door to the lobby slammed open, the sound echoing off the building's impeccable marble. The man in the elegant suit, with a firm posture and impatient gaze, entered talking on the phone without looking around, while behind him a wheelchair slowly appeared, pushed by a hurried employee. The woman was breathing heavily, visibly embarrassed, trying to explain that she had fallen minutes before and that no one had stopped to help her. It was at that exact moment that the young black man, holding a simple folder with the interview documents, dropped everything on the floor and ran to her, ignoring the watch vibrating on his wrist, indicating that there were only a few minutes left until the most important job interview of his life. He knelt on the cold floor, spoke calmly, adjusted the wheelchair's support, called for help, wiped the blood from her knee with his own handkerchief, and remained there, even knowing that every second was precious. Minutes later, breathless, he ran across the lobby, but it was too late. The interview room door closed, and the HR woman, with a firm voice and neutral gaze, said that the time was up. Before he could explain, the same man from the phone approached, observed the scene, and said with cold irony, "That's my friend. Next time, wake up earlier." A heavy silence filled the room. The young man lowered his head, swallowing the humiliation. Without imagining that seconds later the wheelchair would return to the lobby and that woman would point at him and say something that would change everything. Before we delve into this amazing story, tell me which city and state you're watching from. Leave a comment and I'll reply with gratitude. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and like this video. We want to share more stories like this. The young man walked through the building's revolving door, his heart racing, feeling the weight of the place even before looking up. The lobby was spacious, too quiet, lined with light marble and mirrored glass, the kind of space that makes you automatically straighten your posture and lower your voice. He took a deep breath, clutched his simple briefcase to his chest, and tried to ignore the feeling that he didn't belong there. For him, this interview wasn't just a professional opportunity, it was a chance to change his entire life, to break free from the cycle of temporary jobs, closed doors, and suspicious glances. Each step he took echoed on the polished floor as a reminder that he couldn't make a mistake. He discreetly checked his watch. He still had a few minutes to spare. Everything was going according to plan. As he approached the reception desk, he heard a dry thud behind him, followed by a confused murmur. Turning, he saw a woman in a wheelchair struggling to move on her own, clearly having difficulty. The chair had gotten stuck on a small unevenness in the floor, and she was straining with her arms, without success. People passed by, some averting their gaze, others pretending to be too busy with their cell phones or hurried conversations. The young man hesitated for a second. He looked at his watch again, then at the woman. That brief pause seemed like an eternity, a silent conflict between the dream that had brought him there and the discomfort of pretending he hadn't seen anything. Without saying a word, he dropped his briefcase on the floor and walked over to her. The woman was pale, her face marked by the effort and the shame of having to ask for help in a place where everyone seemed to be in a hurry. He bent down, spoke carefully, and asked if she was all right. As he tried to move the chair, he noticed that one of the wheels was crooked and that the footrest had come loose, injuring her knee. He excused himself, adjusted the position, looked for help, but no one approached. Then he took a handkerchief from his pocket, gently cleaned the small wound, and called over a cleaning employee who was passing by further back. Together, they managed to unjam the wheel and reposition the chair. The woman thanked him repeatedly in a low, almost embarrassed voice, while he simply smiled and said that everything was fine. Time was running out mercilessly. When a security guard finally appeared to help her to a service elevator, the young man picked up the briefcase from the floor with trembling hands. The clock now showed that he was at his limit. He ran towards the interview area, the sound of his own footsteps mingling with the accelerated beating of his heart. He stopped before the glass door, tried to catch his breath, and entered. The room was too organized, chairs lined up, a long table, and behind it a woman with a neutral expression who raised her eyes only enough to check the time on the computer. Before he could explain anything, she stated firmly that the interview had already begun and that delays were not tolerated. He tried to say that there had been an unforeseen event, that he only needed a few minutes, but he was interrupted by a polite and cold gesture, indicating that there were no exceptions. He left the room, feeling the floor heavier than before. In the hallway, he leaned against the glass wall for a moment, trying to understand how everything had slipped through his fingers. That's when he noticed an elegant man approaching, still talking on the phone, with confident steps and an evaluating gaze. The man ended the call, looked the young man up and down, and with a slight ironic smile, commented that punctuality was essential in that company, and that perhaps next time he should wake up earlier. The phrase landed like a silent blow. The young man didn't respond. He only nodded, holding back the urge to explain, to shout, to say that he had made the right choice, even if it cost him dearly. On the other side of the lobby, the wheelchair reappeared, now being pushed by a female employee. The woman looked around, searching for someone, until her eyes met the young man standing there, head bowed. The atmosphere seemed suspended for a few seconds, as if all sounds had been muffled. She asked him to stop, pointed in his direction, and called her son loudly. She said that this was the man who had helped her when no one else stopped, that he had knelt on the floor, soiled his simple suit, and lost something important because of her. The elegant man froze. The ironic expression slowly disappeared, giving way to an awkward silence. The young man looked up, confused, not understanding what was happening, while the woman continued talking, recounting every detail of what had happened in the lobby, with a clarity that left no room for doubt. The atmosphere changed instantly. Employees stopped, security guards approached, curious glances turned to the scene. The young man felt his hands sweating, his heart racing again, now for a different reason. He didn't know who the lady was. He didn't understand the weight of her words. He only felt that something was about to change. The elegant man took a deep breath, looked at the young man again, this time with real attention, no longer as someone who was late, but as someone who had been seen. The lady finished with a firm sentence, saying that attitudes like that can't be learned in any resume and that the man deserved to be there. The lobby gradually regained its sounds, but for the young man, the world seemed to have stopped at that exact moment, on the threshold between total loss and a turnaround he never imagined experiencing. The silence that filled the lobby after the lady's words was heavy, almost awkward. The elegant man, until then confident and ironic, remained motionless for a few seconds, as if trying to reorganize everything he had just heard. The employees around him pretended not to look, but no one could hide their curiosity. The young black man felt his whole body tense, not knowing where to put his hands, not understanding exactly why that situation, which minutes before had symbolized a definitive failure, now seemed suspended in the air, awaiting a resolution. He didn't move. He didn't ask for anything. He simply remained there with the same humble posture with which he had knelt on the floor moments before. The woman took a deep breath, resting her hands on the arms of her wheelchair, and continued speaking, now with a firmer, almost solemn voice. She said that in that building, every day, important people came and went in a hurry without noticing who was beside them. She said she had felt pain, fear, and shame when she fell in the lobby, and that no one had stopped except that man. She looked directly at her son and stated that character is not measured by lateness, but by choices, especially when no one is watching. The young man felt his eyes welling up, but he held back the tears. He didn't want to seem weak. He didn't want to draw attention. All he had done was act as he thought was right. The CEO cleared his throat, trying to regain control of the situation. He apologized to his mother in a low voice, something rare for someone who always seemed to have absolute command of the environment. Then he turned to the HR woman, who was now avoiding eye contact, and asked her to open the morning's agenda again. The woman tried to argue, mentioning rules, schedules, and protocols, but was interrupted by a simple hand gesture. The young man realized then that rules were flexible when accompanied by power. Still, something had changed. The CEO's gaze no longer carried irony, but curiosity and perhaps a certain embarrassment. He approached the young man and asked his name, this time in a calm voice. The young man answered simply, his throat dry. He explained without elaborating that he was there for the interview and that he understood if it was no longer possible to participate. He said he didn't regret helping the woman, even if it had cost him the opportunity. His words came out sincerely, without any attempt to convince or justify himself. The mother attentively observed every gesture, every tone of voice, as if evaluating something far beyond a job opening. The CEO took another deep breath and asked everyone to proceed to the meeting room. Not just for an interview, he said he wanted to hear the whole story from beginning to end. As they walked down the glass-walled corridor, the young man felt both light and heavy at the same time. Light from the feeling of having been seen, heavy from the awareness that until a few minutes ago no one cared. Upon entering the room, he sat at the table, now accompanied not only by HR, but by the CEO himself and his mother, positioned centrally as someone who was not there by chance. The young man calmly recounted everything, from arriving at the building, the noise of the fall, the woman's embarrassment, the indifferent looks of those around them. He didn't exaggerate, he didn't dramatize, he simply reported the facts. As he spoke, he noticed changing expressions around the table. The HR woman kept her eyes downcast. The CEO listened in silence, resting his elbows on the table, attentive to every detail. The mother nodded occasionally, confirming the story with small gestures. When he finished, no one spoke for a few seconds. It was the woman who broke the silence. She said that companies can teach techniques, processes, and goals, but they can't teach humanity. She said that the building needed not only competent professionals, but people who could see others. She looked at her son and stated that if that company truly wanted to grow, it needed to start by example. The CEO closed his eyes for a moment, as if acknowledging an uncomfortable truth. Then he offered a slight smile, not of superiority, but of acceptance. He then said something the young man would never forget. He stated that, more than hiring someone, he needed to correct a mistake. He publicly apologized for the comment he had made in the lobby, acknowledging that he had judged without knowing the story. He said that punctuality was important, but character was indispensable. He announced right there that the young man was hired, not as a favor, but as a conscious choice. The HR woman looked up, surprised. The young man felt his legs tremble, his heart race, and he had to take a deep breath to avoid bursting into tears. The meeting ended simply, without applause or long speeches. As she left the room, the woman asked to speak privately with the young man for a few moments. She thanked him again, holding his hand firmly, saying that this gesture had restored her faith in people. She said that sometimes God uses delays to place people exactly where they need to be. The young man nodded silently, feeling that those words made more sense than any professional promise. As he left the building now with a contract in his briefcase, he paused for a moment in the lobby and looked around. The same place that minutes before had represented rejection now carried a completely different meaning. He knew that this story wasn't just about a job, but about silent choices that shape destinies. He walked out with firm steps, aware that he had lost an interview, but gained something much greater, the confirmation that doing the right thing, even when it costs dearly, never goes unnoticed. And if this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you love. Click now to share it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming stories we're preparing with great care for you.